of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. At this time, we will open up the hearing and privilege of the floor. If anyone at this time would like to address the board, please just state your name and your address. All right, we will close the hearing and privilege of the floor. Remind everyone we do have one at the very end of our meeting. And at this time, we have a presentation from Karen Swain, Assistant Superintendent. Slide away.
School in the area for the Hispanic subgroup, and so that was in the areas of ELA, math, and chronic absenteeism. So the state pulled forward our state achievement data, so our 3 through 8 ELA, math, and science tests, and they looked at that versus the goal. So it's called a MIP, which I will not get into, measured interim progress. We did not make our MIPs either for chronic absenteeism or achievement or student growth in the Hispanic subgroup at the middle school. So what happens is, school accountability, school improvement doesn't happen just in one place. It really is a health of the system occurrence. And so what state ed says is it's not just the middle school who will have a designation, but the entire district will have a designation. We want you to look specifically at the middle school and create a SEP, or School Comprehensive Education Plan. And we also want you to create a partner document, the District Comprehensive Improvement Plan, where you look across the district as a whole, but you specifically look at 5 different tenets around curriculum, instruction, systematic change in the environment, funding, and supports. And so that's what we did. Part of the supports that come with the District Comprehensive Improvement Plan is funding from state ed and support through Capital Region BOCES as an arm of state ed. So when they came in, they started with a deep dive into a needs analysis that included all of our achievement data, down to kindergarten letter name and letter sounds, all the way up to our regents and graduation rates, and what type of regents graduation diploma, wrong words, what type of diploma students got, whether it was a typical Regis diploma, an advanced diploma, and what types of classes our students were enrolled in, all the way down to the subgroup level. So as you can guess, that was a pretty deep dive into our data. And so what happened was in 1920, we had 5 priorities. So the 5 priorities are now rolled back to 3 priorities. The one priority that we feel is complete is our standards aligned curriculum in our 4 core, so that we've done a deep dive, especially in ELA, around our standards-based curriculum, rewriting units in grades 6 through 12. They have done incredible work, not just in their standards aligned curriculum, but in their assessment, their feedback to students, their culturally responsive education, what texts they choose, really an incredibly deep dive. Social studies has taken an equally deep dive. So we said, I believe last year when we did our needs analysis, we really feel that standards aligned curriculum can come off the list because we completed that. When we looked at it, we also said diversity, equity, inclusion, or culturally responsive education is not a standalone item. If we want this to be successful, it really needs to be embedded in every decision that we make in each one of our priorities. So if you have any questions along the way, please feel free. This can be a conversation. So I'm going to take you just through a bit deeper dive into our priorities. So priority 1 really is about instructional decision making. So why did we pull this forward? We looked at different research-based strategies, and we pulled forward John Hattie's work, and we said, what has the largest effect size from an instructional viewpoint on student growth and achievement? And so John Hattie's work says that setting targets, both for instructors and students, has about a 0.56 effect size. That's pretty good in education. I have to tell you, it's not a 100-point scale that we're working from, but 0.56 effect size is pretty significant. And then when you layer in effect size moves all the way up to 0.75. So you have a massive effect size. So learning targets, student success criteria, in theory, according to John Haddon's research, should have a 0.75 effect size on student growth and achievement. So as we were looking through research-based strategies to affect instructional decision-making, we pulled forward learning targets. So what does that mean? It means that we are writing K-12 for each lesson. We are writing discrete I can statements. I can do what's in front of me. This is how I know I've been successful. So that's put out at the front of every lesson with students, and we unpack it with students. What is vocabulary? What are you learning in this lesson? What came before? What comes after? Then you're circling back to it throughout the lesson, and then typically there's some type of exit ticket. How did you know you were successful or not? And so that has been the work we've been doing for over 2 years. We've done a lot of surveys, and we've said, what do you know what a learning target is? 1 through 5, 1, 1, 1, 1. And then two PD sessions later, how comfortable are you with learning targets? 1, 2, 3, right? So you've got your early adopters, you've got your folks who are just getting into it, and you've got your folks who are like, no, not for me. And so we've seen the comfort of surveys about learning targets. Do people know how to write a standards-based learning target? We've got the gist. Do we know how to unpack it? I'd say we're still in progress. Are we working with students about their success criteria? I think, again, we're maybe, we know what it is, right? We know what it means to be successful. But I would say we're more, in the surveys, it's more 2, 3, 4s. Got our speedboats who are out there like, yes, I've got this with kids. And again, you have to remember, this is K-12 implementation. So we're doing this with kindergartners. I can identify the first letter of my last name. I can do it by circling on 3 different pages. So it really is all the way from kindergarten to all the way to our big kids. I can present a regulation using PowerPoint slides, screencastify, choice. How will I know I'm successful? So really, this is learning targets is something that can be implemented in K-12 based on the developmentally appropriate standard that you learn. Good? All right. Providing high-quality feedback to teachers. And I'll share with you for priority 1 and 2, no one says thank you about professional development, right? It's painful, it's a have to, we do it on Mondays at the end of the day, people are like, oh my gosh, I have my market list, my Christmas list. So no one ever says thank you about PT. But before I jump into that, I want to read you an email I got from an administrator after a summer training. So we trained for 2 days in the summer, resetting our priorities and standard setting around our look fors, and then connecting that with APPR. So this is what an administrator wrote to me. I was absolutely dreading today's training based on the material we typically cover. However, I appreciated today's presentation went beyond our rubric and tied in what we've been working on all year with learning targets. The agenda also allowed us to reflect on our leadership style and the ability to have a meaningful conversation while maintaining positive building culture. I hope everyone was able to pick up on the being positive messaging that I heard more than once. Being honest and positive is sometimes hard to do. Folks may disagree, but I felt today's information was much more relevant and useful for what we see every day in our leadership roles. No compliment sandwich needed. Today's training was effective to highly effective. So part of what we learned in our high quality feedback is the compliment sandwich. Start with something positive. Start with a wonder. What do you wonder about that lesson? What could be done differently? What you're wondering. And then how to wrap it up with a recommendation that's framed in a positive way. I will tell you that this is certainly a in progress goal. This changes based on where we are in our environment, what level you're at, because again, this is K-12 that we're working on. Another piece of it, besides the summer, is our bi-monthly professional development. So what we do is the administrators have the same PD session that teachers go through, but they have it first. And then we talk about, when we go in for our walkthroughs, what will you look for as evidence of this? If you see it, what kind of feedback can you provide that's based in the professional development that teachers have been going through, that you have been going through, and what recommendations can you provide to folks? So what we're really trying to do is have a vertically aligned professional development district-wide so that we have common language, that we have high quality feedback, because administrators are on a spectrum as far as their content understandings, their ability to quarterly reports to the state on our progress towards our priorities and the commitments at middle school. And so far, they've been okay with us saying, this is in progress, because we've shown iterative growth across time in our trainings, not necessarily in our achievement, because the standards they use have been interrupted in the last few years using state assessments and regions. So we don't have hard data as far as standardized achievement scores, but that's coming between last year and this year that they'll start on our next accountability convention. Priority 3, increasing student attendance. Great goodness, this will never be completed. We really are struggling with student attendance, students coming to school, feeling engaged and connected. Really looking at that social emotional learning part, that elementary reuse responsive classroom, which is building a culture of belonging. We have common vocabulary that we use. All teachers go to a 4-day training either during the school year or during the summer. And we follow them. If they can't make it one year, we ask them next, the next, and the next. Because it really is that common vocabulary and language of belonging, of authentic apology, about how to engage with your students, the other students and adults in the building. At middle school, they, as maybe some of you have seen the enrichment period that we started in 6th grade, a place to make those small connections and have those authentic conversations with students. Equine therapy has started this year as well, which has been really incredible. So it's interesting. We see a spike in the students' attendance leading up to the equine therapy visit, and then it falls right down. And so one of the things we're looking at is how do we keep that peak? How do we keep them engaged? And that really is relationships. So what are we doing to build relationships with students to keep them engaged with us day to day? At the high school, they have been working through ACEs, and they've been working through TCIS, Therapeutic Crisis Intervention and Support Strategies. So some folks have become truly TCIS qualified, certified, and they're sharing those strategies out with the greater school community on ways to impact student engagement and that social emotional learning. So again, all of these are in progress. I'm hopeful, but I think that there's more at play with student attendance than just coming to school. I think that our partnership with Saratoga Center for the Family is critical, a critical piece. While it's not part of the DSIP, it goes back to relationships and connections with kids and kids feel this. So these are what we're pulling forward through the DSIP, but it's not the only work we're doing. Again, as I started, priorities 1 through 3 really have diversity, equity, inclusion embedded in them. Those first 3 bullets you know all about. You've been part of the process we've had to date. There has been a real focus in social studies, English, and the arts. I have to pull forward Nancy Lucier's work here because she has done a beautiful job pulling forward those conversations and asking folks, what music do we sing and why? Who's represented in that music? Is every artist that we're looking at a white man from Europe? What are we doing to really celebrate that inclusive curriculum that really shows value for diverse cultures? Social studies and English, I don't need to take away from them, but they've been in this work, they've been doing this work, and that work is, there's models for that work. But Nancy's work, there really isn't a model for. There's no, there's no state website dedicated to inclusion in the arts. So I really need to pull her forward in that moment. We also have partnered with BOCES for the last 2 years to have an embedded co-teaching coach to really work on that inclusion piece, to really work on that equity piece, those experiences that students are having in a co-teach class versus another co-teach class. We really want to make sure those are rich educational environments where every student is supported. We should all be so excited and lucky to have 2 certified staff. What is the impact we're having, and how can we elevate that impact? I forgot to delete this slide. So there we go. So any questions around this? Yeah.
I have. So how do we gain adoption with folks? This goes back to the learning targets. How do we adopt get folks to adopt it that aren't early adopters?
Sure. So there's that, Simon Sinek has a graph that I always think is really cool. It's one of his best TED Talks. And he calls about the diffusion of innovation. And so sometimes you have to have your early adopters, you have your midway adopters, and then you have the folks who have to be line authority. You have to walk in and say, this is the expectation. This is what I expect you to provide supports and expectations to monitor them. And then you bring that person along. It's not that they want to be there, but it is that here is the line authority.
Thank you very much. Now we will turn to our superintendent's comments.
So I thought it might be helpful for the board to have just a little bit of an update about what we're doing with all these open positions that we have seemed to acquire in the last 6 weeks to 2 months. Our first interview team saw candidates for the assistant principal's job this past week. Karen, Drew, myself, Angie, and Peter saw 3 finalists, and we are working through a process of checking references and some other things before we make an offer to someone. So I am hopeful that that person will be able to join us, probably most likely by January 1st at the latest. We'll be advertising for Ms. Vacris's job, which is the academic head for social studies and ELA. That posting will go up most likely tomorrow or Wednesday. It will post through January 6th. Then we will do the same process whereby we have a building level committee who will interview the candidates for that position. They will get some folks together to send forward to me. You will see tonight that we have brought Ms. Vacris back on, or our plan is to bring her back on as an interim administrator. So she will join us for that. And then sadly, I will be posting for Karen's job probably somewhere around January 6th. And would anticipate we will have a person to fill that position within a couple of months, so you should expect another interim appointment for that position in the short run. Although people are very anxious that we get the jobs filled and hire people, I don't want to short arm anything, and I am totally committed to getting the best possible candidates that we can, and I'm willing to take the time to do that. I say that to you knowing that lots of people on the admin team are in full panic mode right now, because when you think of the fact that there are really 15 of them and 3 are going to be gone within a very short period of time, they're pretty panicky about all this. But education and change are synonymous. We will find our way. So don't be surprised. You're going to, as I say, we will have some more interim appointments along the way as we fill some gaps and get people in. It's a lengthy process, not only on our end, but for people who are currently working. Generally speaking, 30 days is typical for what they need to give their school district before they can come to us. So it's not even that, for example, if you appointed somebody tonight, it'd be 30 calendar days before they could get to us anyway, under most circumstances. There is such a shortage of administrators that when people say to me, can you send me Mr. Fivey sooner? I say, no, I can't send you Mr. Fivey any sooner because I've got to find a way to backfill Mr. Fivey. I happen to know that Karen's new people thought that I would send her right after Christmas, but ha ha ha, that's not happening. She'll be with us till at least mid-February. So it is a lengthy process. You will see the finalists for Karen's position. So you will, that's a district-wide position. You will see those finalists with myself and Drew before we actually get to a final selection. So that's an extra step there that'll take us a little longer. But I do want you to know, while all this is going on, other folks are panicking. I'm not panicking. We've been through this here before. While I wish everyone would stay with me forever, I can't talk them into it. So they're going to go out and learn and do new things, and I'm very happy for them and proud of them. When folks move on, it's good for all of us. But if you're hearing what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, it's just going to be slow. Do it right is slow. So we will move as quickly as we can. We did, however, secure a tech teacher. One. So that's taken us a while. Yeah, it's good. So slow but steady. So I hope that's helpful. If you were wondering, why do we keep seeing these interim appointments? Who are these people who keep floating through? That's what's going on. Today, Mr. Van Gelder was here at the middle school. He was supposed to be here with Ms. Snowfree. We knew Mr. Cosmer was not in. Ms. Snowfree is ill. Mr. Van Gelder ended up here himself. We got some backup from the academic heads, but there's a shortage of everything. Thank you.
Thank you. I will move on to our reports and update. The first one is our good friends at CASPA. So I've been in contact with NISBA and a gentleman named Zach Adams several times via texting and conversations. Him and I have a call scheduled most likely Friday. He'll give me a better update. It doesn't seem CASPA is in existence anymore. Every email or phone number that I had, or Jill, because I had Jill on the hunt for me, and if Jill can't find it, I'm sure it doesn't exist. All became returned emails that didn't go through. So as soon as I have some more data from that after I speak with Zach, I will report back to everybody as far as CASPA goes. Legislative.
So the 2023 proposals and positions that we voted on as a group and then did statewide are now with the state. There was an email that came out, so it's official. Everything that we did. That's the only latest news that we have legislatively.
Thank you. PTA Council.
I'm going to pass that off to Emily,
Oh.
because she went for me.
Okay, I wasn't sure if there was another meeting after that.
Not yet.
That was the last
Okay.
one.
So Kim is usually in attendance at these meetings, and she asked me to attend. I'm not sure how much information you need. There was one item on the agenda for the meeting, and it was what we had talked about a couple of meetings ago. It was a vote as to whether, and I believe what it said was, can the PTA have fundraising events at places that have the word brewery in the title? I thought what we had said was, can it be at places that serve alcohol? But that's what was written. And then as it turns out, there wasn't supposed to be a vote. There was a lot of conversation back and forth. I think unfortunately some of the communication was done over email. And then when you leave it to email and text, you have to interpret tone and intent. And I think that there was some misinterpretation there. So there was a lot of discussion. And unfortunately, I had to leave early to get to a Friends of Music meeting. So I'm not sure what happened after that. I don't know if there was a vote. I can personally say there was a lot of talk about how the event was already widely advertised, and I don't have any, and I looked and I still don't know what this event is. So I'm just giving you the information I had watching from the outside in.
Yeah, so I was there as well. Mrs. Adams invited me to attend that meeting. So it was an error that it was supposed to be a vote, because there's no vote. So the agenda got sent out incorrectly, saying that. There was also a representative, Jennifer, from New York State PTA, that was there. She spoke for quite a while, actually, too, in support of our PTA council. PTA council for New York State does not recommend this, that we do this, but they said that they cannot say no to us. They're legal. They said as long as the words adults only are in anything like that, then it couldn't be pushed too hard. They don't recommend it, but if it does say adults only, it is in a public place, so they couldn't really restrict it since it is open to the public as well. A couple of PTAs that did this event were very passionate, I wrote, about their event that they had that was quite successful. Just trying to see what other notes that I had there. So there was a separate playground, a play area that all the kids were at that was chaperoned. Mr. Egan spoke up finally and calmed down a gentleman from the Glendale PTA who was getting a little out of line, I think. And then from there, they went on to Founders Day, the Water Edge Terrace. someone brought up the fact that it was sold recently, so they're still gonna reach out to see if all of the contracts are still valid or void with the new owners. So the next meeting is next month, I believe it's the 11th, yeah, January 11th at Glen Warden. And then, let's see, other than that, I was asked about the Saginaw Playground, which I reached out, spoke to Susan and Drew and reported back to Amy at Saginaw, that, as to Susan, that things are in back order right now in the world that we live in nowadays. So it was quite the long meeting for my first PTA council meeting. So that was fun, but that's kind of the ball that happened there.
What, was there an outcome to the primary discussion as to whether or not they're having the event?
Well, the only advice that they got was from Jennifer from New York State PTA that says they don't recommend it, but as long as anybody has this event in the future, if it says adult only, then they would say okay.
I guess my question is, are they having the event? Is it already scheduled, or are they having?
They've already had the events.
Oh,
There's
okay.
3. Glendale had one, Saginaw had one, and the middle school had one, I believe. So these were events that already took place.
Okay.
But the discussion, from what I know, is that it was going to be in the future if the PTA should be involved in anything like this as we go forward. So there were 3 events, and from what I heard, all 3 events were very successful. Anything I missed?
No.
No. Any questions on that? All right, we'll go to the audit committee.
Nothing to report right now.
All right, thank you. Pam and Rick, our Board of Education Policy Committee.
Unfortunately, the 3000s had been postponed to the next meeting. You should have received 6 questions from me on those 3000s, which is a lot shorter. I told you it was going to be shorter than the 2000s. It turned out to be a lot shorter than the 2000s, but hopefully at the next meeting we'll go through those. Rick and I have gone through the 0s and the 1000s, and we will be writing up the questions from those to follow that. And we have the 4000s in our hand, but we haven't had a chance to meet to start going over those. So we're still making progress, just kind of hit a little bit of a lull here for that.
Okay, great. So the next meeting, we plan on discussing the 3000s.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The 6 questions that everybody should have.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Board of Education goals. I know last time we had I spoke with Mr. Bucciferro about reaching out to his contacts as we talked in depth. He hasn't got back to me yet. I think he was a little preoccupied with a couple other things going on. He's not here tonight as him and his wife are a little ill, so I will work with David on that.
Yeah, that's gonna be my question on that, where we fell on that. And thank you, Karen, for answering a couple of my questions in your presentation on it, because I am hearing from our community that our children really are needing that social emotional. A lot of parents are still not understanding that we have Saratoga available to them, and kind of looking to us to maybe help them a little bit more. And I know our teachers are feeling that social emotional in the classroom also. So if we can like get on him to find out what can we do as a team. I know that has been brought to me probably 4 or 5 times in the last 2 weeks.
Karen, how has attendance been? I'm not even sure we know this at the forums we've made available for parents.
Oh, so funny. So we partner with Dr. Jen Bashant to offer the Parents as Partners series. There's 14 area districts who partner with Jen, and we have the best attendance. So she wrote to us today and said, how are you doing this? But I would give Julia all the credit. She's done a beautiful job on social media, on Instagram. She pulls it forward in a timely fashion, sets reminders, and makes it easy for us. So I would say we have better than average participation at our Parents as Partners sessions. And we have monthly, I believe they're monthly with the exception of June.
Yeah, those are the ones. I think I've got a couple emails. One saying, can you attend? So maybe PTAs can also help by sharing that information on our PTA pages, because I know that I see it, but I don't know, like, am I invited to it because I have a child who requires a little social emotional. So I'd be happy to help share. Maybe we can share it with PTA Council, those coming up, to help parents be able to join those sessions.
I thought that. Thank you. I'll connect you with Julia.
Thanks.
I think those come out on a district-wide email blast, actually. 'Cause I've attended a bunch of them. They're fantastic. They're really well done. But I think they go out to everybody that we have an email for. But still going through PTA for folks that don't have the emails and
Yeah,
whatnot.
'cause we know how much we always look at our emails, like.
True, yeah, I guess.
Great, thank you. Budget, Drew, any budget update at this point?
I'm working on it.
Yeah, it's coming.
Thank you.
All right, great, thank you, everybody. Item number 7, can I get a motion to approve distance learning classroom rental?
A motion to approve distance learning classroom rental agreement with BOCES.
Kim,
I'll
second.
second.
Thank you, Pam. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? So moved. Motion for item number 8. Excuse me.
A motion to approve the agreement by and between the Scotia-Glenville Central School District and G. Mulady Associates Incorporated. Is that right?
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rick. Questions from anybody?
How many folks will be getting trained?
At least 3.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstained? So moved. Motion for item number 9, resolution.
I'll motion on the resolution to appoint interim administrator for the district using Bacchus as submitted.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Pam. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstained? So moved. Item number 10, resolution.
I make a motion that we accept and establish the Pauline Muth Memorial Scholarship as submitted.
Thank you,
I'll
Emily.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rick. Questions? All-
This was great to see. I had
Yeah.
Miss Smooth.
I did too.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
huge fan, so this was great to see come across.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstained? So moved. Motion for resolution number 11, please.
I'll motion to accept the gift and donation from the Scotia-Glenville Booster Club, $250 for the purpose of wrestling mats.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Kim. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstained? So moved. Item number 12, motion, please.
A motion to approve the elimination of a requirement from Scotia-Glenville High School PTSA scholarship in honor of Richard J. McGuire.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Pam. Questions?
Can we have a little bit of discussion?
Sure?
I'm just curious why, it says it's an academic scholarship, so I'm curious why we would eliminate the requirement of being in the top 20% of the graduating seniors. And I just want to add that I was a student under Richard McGuire, and he was very by the book and very rigid and had very, very high standards. He and I butted heads quite a bit because of that, because he just was very firm in upholding the standards of Scotia-Glenville students. And if it wasn't an academic scholarship, I mean, it specifically says academic scholarship.
I'm just guessing that the PTSA wanted to be more inclusive, that you could have a student who wasn't in the top 20% but was still an academically hardworking student that you might think should be considered for the scholarship. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I'm guessing.
And then it looks like it says, I'm just looking at, if there's a spot for sort of an explanation, or at number 7 on the form, write a brief statement about the individual, and it says, we're unsure. It just doesn't.
I'm I'm certainly happy to go back and ask them for further information
I
about
just,
that.
I wouldn't approve this tonight.
Does anybody else have any questions on this?
I will move that we table it until we get more information.
Okay,
I'll second.
I agree. Thank you. So we'll item number 12, we'll table until Susan can get more data for us and then get back to us. All right,
Absolutely.
thank you. Thank you, Emily. Motion for item number 13 and 14, actually, we can do together.
I'll move we approve the 2 memorandum of agreements between the Scotia-Glenville School District and the Scotia-Glenville Administrators Association for Angela Sprone and Christine Knopfrey for them to do report card verification, printing, and distribution for grades 6 to 12 as submitted.
I'll second.
Thank you both. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. Motion for item number 15.
I'll motion to approve the memorandum of agreement by and between Scotia-Glenville Central School District and the Scotia-Glenville Teachers Association School Aides in Monitoring Unit.
I'll second.
Thank you both. Any questions? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstain? So moved. Thank you. Motion for item number 16, request for an overnight field trip.
I'll motion that we approve the overnight field trip, senior high school indoor track field for January 13th to 14th, submitted.
Thank you, Rick. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just a comment, I learned something from this. I didn't know there was such a thing as a fast track. And some tracks were actually naturally faster than other tracks, so there you go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. Motion for communications.
I'll move communications A through C, staffing 1 through 12, and the placement of students with disabilities as submitted.
Second.
Thank you both. Questions?
I have a quick comment under staffing. Just want to make a record that I really appreciate the nurses in all the buildings right now, with everything going on. A lot of positive feedback from the community about, you know, the care and tenderness surrounding everybody getting sick and folks being flexible. So if you could pass that along, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. Treasurer's report, October 22nd. I'm sorry, October 2022. Questions? So moved. Internal claims and audit reports, payroll warrant number 29, number 31. Check warrants, A20, A23, H6, A25, H7, A28, H8, A30. Okay, so moved. Other business, legal invoices that we have from October 2022.
That was in response to requests that we
Yep.
show you how that works, where we're categorized. So hopefully that's information that was helpful to you, all of you.
Thank you so much. Do you mind if we ask about certain items, or is it just supposed to be a general, this is?
I don't mind if you ask at all. It's good to ask.
Well, I just, you know, there may be some legal precedent not to pry about certain items, so I didn't know if that was okay.
No, as long as we keep them in those broad headings and not specific to individuals, I think we're fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, good question. At this time, we'll open up
I
the,
have one,
oops,
I'm
sorry,
sorry,
yes,
I
sir,
do
no,
have
go
one
ahead.
thing under other business. I just, I sent an email, and I just wanted to open it up to the board. I know Dave, both Daves aren't here tonight, but maybe over time we could have a conversation about an indoor facility. It may not be perfect for the district, but if, you know, whether it's this year or in future years, it could be considered. It's something that has happened in other districts. It may not be, it may be charter schools that it's allowed for and not, you know, a public school that's, you know, heavily funded by the state. But if we could find a way, it would serve a need in our community, and it's something that's just been brought up. So if it were to make sense for Scotia, great. If it doesn't, but if we could all kind of see, have that conversation from time to time to see if it would make sense, I think it'd be great. So I just wanted to propose that we can start that conversation, whether it takes years or however long. I think it'd be a great addition to this district and help separate us in certain ways.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other business? All right, at this time, we'll open up the second hearing, privilege of the floor. Excuse me. If anyone would like to address the board, just please state your name and address. All right, we will close the hearing in privilege of the floor. And at this time, do we need to go into exec?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we move to executive session for purposes of personnel.
I'll second.
Thank you both. Our open meeting is adjourned. Appreciate everybody.